When stress starts to win. Let me guess, lately it feels like something's slipping, not suddenly, not loudly, just always. You wake up with that pressure. It's not sharp, but it's there. The hum, the weight, the pull of something unfinished. You move through the day like you're holding something fragile, except it's not in your hands, it's in your chest. The to-do lists get longer, the hours move faster, and everything that used to work doesn't. You plan, you push, you try to stay ahead, but the more you control, the more it controls you. The routine collapses, the timing drifts, the results don't land, and peace, it stays just out of reach, like a door that never fully opens. Every move becomes defense, every breath becomes effort, and rest feels like a luxury you can't afford. But here's the quiet truth. The more you chase control, the more you lose it. Because force creates friction, and friction wears down the soul. Feels like stress is winning, and nothing is enough. But maybe it's not about doing more. Maybe it's about holding less. Maybe the thing you've been trying to manage was never meant to be carried that way. Because if you stay through this, you won't need to fight for anything. What you're chasing might start chasing you, quietly. But first, a shift in how you see letting go. What if letting go isn't giving up? Letting go, it sounds like quitting, like weakness, like failure dressed in soft words. That's the story we've been told. Hold on. Push harder. Never let go. But what if letting go isn't the end of effort, but the beginning of alignment? Letting go doesn't mean you no longer care. It means you stop bleeding energy into what no longer answers you. It means you stop forcing timing that's not ready to meet you. It means you stop trying to change the shape of things that were never meant to fit. Letting go is not passive. It's power in retreat. It's intention without resistance. It's trust that moves without noise. Because when the grip softens, everything else gets clearer. You see who's still standing. You see what still matters. You see what you were never supposed to carry. Letting go is how space returns, not just around you, but inside you. It's how breath finds its way back in. And maybe that's why you haven't felt free, not because you're trapped, but because your hands never stopped clenching. So try this. Not because it's easy, but because it's real. Let go of needing to prove. Let go of controlling the pace. Let go of the outcome. And watch what finds you when you're no longer trying to deserve it. Control isn't power. Stillness is. Control looks strong, clean, sharp, in charge. But behind it, there's often panic, dressed as discipline. It's the constant calculation. What if this slips? What if they leave? What if I fall behind? So the grip tightens, the plans get longer, the pressure doubles down. Control becomes a reflex. A way of surviving in a world that rarely listens and never waits. But beneath the precision, there's tension. And behind the structure, there's fear. Not fear of failure, fear of surrender. Because what happens if things unfold without you holding them? What happens if you stop steering for just a second? Control says you're only safe if you never stop moving. But stillness says something else. It says you were never in danger. Only distracted. Stillness doesn't rush, it doesn't beg, it doesn't flinch, it doesn't ask for permission to take up space, it just does. Stillness isn't inaction, it's the quiet refusal to be thrown by chaos. It's the place inside that doesn't move when the outside shakes. And maybe that's what real power is, not in how fast you react, but in how long you can wait without losing yourself. Not in how much you control, but in how little you need to. Because the one who can stay still in the middle of it all is the one everything else starts to move around. Force makes noise. Alignment doesn't. Javier had a plan. Every move mapped, every detail rehearsed, every outcome imagined. He believed that with enough will, he could bend the world. So he worked. Hard. Long. Always one step ahead, always calculating the next door before the current one closed. Until the world stopped listening. The deal collapsed. The client walked. The calls weren't returned. So he pushed harder, stayed up later, talked faster, held tighter. Because force is loud, it demands, it insists, it refuses to rest until things go its way. But the louder he got, the quieter everything else became. He didn't lose because he didn't try. He lost because he never stopped trying. Then there was Sully. Quiet, unrushed, rarely seen speaking unless it mattered. He had the same tools, the same setbacks. But when things broke, he didn't chase. He listened, he waited, he watched, he adjusted, not out of desperation, but direction. Where Javier spiraled, Sully stood. Where Javier begged the door to open, Sully walked to the next one, only when it felt right. Not because he was lucky, but because he moved from center, not urgency. That's the thing about alignment. It doesn't hustle, it doesn't shout. It just lands, silently, effortlessly, like a key slipping into the right lock without resistance. Force says, make it happen. Alignment says, if it's meant, it already knows the way. The space between effort and outcome. There's a space between what you give and what you get, between the work and the worth, between the act and the arrival. Most people can't stand that space, so they fill it with worry, with strategy, with noise. They press, they second guess, they speed up the tempo, afraid that stillness might mean nothing is happening. But the truth? That space is where it all happens. Not the push, not the chase, but the unfold. It's the place where what's planted starts to take shape. Slowly, quietly, underground. Where roots grow before anything breaks the surface. Where timing rearranges without needing your hands. It's not a delay, it's an alignment process. And if you interrupt it, you distort it. You yank the seed out of the soil to see if it's growing, and in doing so, you kill it. Because some things only bloom when trusted enough to bloom in peace. The world you want is not avoiding you. It's becoming ready for you as you become ready for it. And in that gap, the only question is, can you hold the space? Without pushing? Without doubting? Without shrinking back into fear? Because when you do, what's meant starts to move without you moving at all. Manifestation isn't magic, it's return. They call it manifesting. Like magic, like calling something out of nothing, like attracting what isn't yet real. But maybe it's not about conjuring. Maybe manifestation isn't about making anything happen. It's about letting what's already yours find you. Not because you earned it, not because you tricked the universe, but because you stopped pushing it away. It's not about repeating mantras until the world bends. It's not about staying positive when everything inside is breaking. It's about getting quiet enough to hear what's always been calling you. About being still enough to feel the soft gravity of what's aligned. The things that belong in your life aren't hiding, they're just waiting for the storm inside you to settle. Because the truth is, what's meant doesn't respond to noise, it responds to resonance. And you can't resonate when you're forcing, faking, fighting. You resonate when you rest, when you breathe, when you come back to yourself. That's the shift. You stop chasing and you start returning. Not to a goal, but to a state, a frequency, a version of you that doesn't beg, doesn't grip, doesn't ache to be chosen. Because that version already knows, what's meant for me will find me. Not through control, but through quiet permission. To be, to receive, to welcome without demand. That's not magic, that's alignment, that's coming home, the quiet pull. No more chasing, no more forcing, no more bending life into something it never wanted to be. You've done enough, more than enough, and now the only thing left is space. Not silence as emptiness, but silence as invitation. The kind of quiet that doesn't beg to be filled. The kind that lets what matters come closer. Because when you stop speaking, you start hearing. When you stop pushing, you start receiving. And when you stop gripping, you begin to feel what's already holding you. No signs, no flashes, no breakthroughs, just a slow return. Like breath, like rhythm, like a current that never left. All this time, what you were chasing was always circling back. And now that you're still enough to notice, you don't need to pull anything in. You just need to stand where it knows how to find you.